Okay, today we will look at health systems and also understand what a health system, we'll do an introduction to health system, and then we will look at, we already looked at the Sri Lankan health system. Then we will look at health system. I'm sure you are ready with your presentations. The groups, we will have a look at those systems, and then I will give you a comparison of those systems. And then we will look at the international agencies that provide health care. So, in the presentation, we will look at some of the definitions. What do you understand by a health system? Then we already discussed about the national health system, how it is organized. Uh, Briefly looking at how these health systems have developed, the evolution of health systems, uh, uh, and also why we study health system. Why are we interested in learning in this module the health systems, and what are the functions of a system? What determines health systems? What are the components of a system and different classifications? How to classify different systems? Then we will look at the global systems, and under the classification, each country we are looking at see what category or what classification that system falls into, and compare with our system which we know well. Right. What do you understand by a system? The word system. We commonly use this system. What is the best example you can give of a system? You think of yourself. Yes. What is a system? Where you come across systems. Yeah, in your body itself, we talk of your respiratory system, your cardiovascular system, your nervous system, endocrine system, reproductive system. Those are various systems are there. So you take one system, cardiovascular system. Okay, so what is a system then? Yes, it's a collection of different parts. Cardiovascular system and different parts. What are the parts of the cardiovascular system? You have the heart, the arteries, the veins, the capillaries, all consist of we call it a system. So the system will have different components, different parts. So collection. And what do we expect from a system? Right. So to do some functions, some achievements, or some goals, so system must work together to give you some receipt. It gives a blood supply to take all the nutrients and the waste brought to the heart and to the lungs, and so that is the purpose of that. So there is the purpose of the system. So that is the system, right? And so there's a story about the system. They wanted to the system wanted had a meeting, and they were discussing which system is the most important, the body. Right? So they were arguing. So the brain got up and said, "I'm the one who controls everything. If I don't work, you can't. Your hands will not work." So you see, so even the heart had to work on the otherwise the heart. So then the heart said, "No, how I don't you blood, how can you survive?" Right? And like that, so everybody was trying to show who is the most important system. And then the ass got up. And he said, I'm the most important person. And if I don't work, you all can't work. You shut up, they others were shouting and humiliating you, and then you are the unimportant person. How can you become the important? So, in, he stopped working. One day passed, 2 days passed, third day, the organ club will be very uncomfortable. and they accepted, right? So that's so all that is the important basically that all the systems have to work together. How small it is, how it all has to work harmoniously in the factory, in the machines, or in the hospital. The minor staff didn't work. You can't work there, so you can't disregard their work. So the system to work, all these, it's like a wheel, right? In a watch, right? It has to work harmoniously. Every system, even the small one, has to work properly. Otherwise, the whole system doesn't work. So it gives you idea about the system. So what is a system? The system is a set of interrelated and interdependent. That is the importance of. They depend on the others, right? That's why you can't find you are most important, but because everybody has to play their role, a set of interrelated and interdependent parts designed to achieve a set of goals. Right? So interdependent. Each section depends on the other. Each system, each part depends on the other. So it's a set of interrelated and interdependent. So when it comes to health systems, also the same thing is so. It's a set of interrelated, interdependent parts designed to achieve a set of goals. So when it applies, that is a system. So when it applies to a health system, right? A health system comprised of all organizations, institutions, resources devoted to producing actions whose primary intent is to improve health. Why are we having a health system? It's to improve the health of the people, right? How does it? What are the things in the whole health system? We have organization. We have the health ministry, the provincial ministries. Those are organizations, and various campaigns are organized. Right? Then there are institutions. We have hospital, the MOH officers, the clinics. All those are institutions, and resources. We have ambulances. We have right financial, all that, and all what the purpose of all that is put together to produce health of the people, right? So most national health systems include. So even when we took the other day, last week, when we discussed about the health system in Sri Lanka, we saw there are different things. Public system is there, private system is there. Then within that again, we have the Western system practicing, Ayurvedic system. So most national health systems include public, private, traditional, informal sectors. Then we had other informal sectors also. Some even about they estimate more than 10,000 quacks are. They are also part of the system. They are working. They are delivering something. So the four essential functions. So then, what are the four essential functions of a health system? Has been divided as if you look at the whole system, why are we having that? What is the basic essential functions? It has to provide services. Right? Our hospitals, clinics, all that provides various services. Service provision. Second function of a health system is resource generation. It has to generate funds to run the services, right? Resource generation. And then it has to provide funds to run the services. And then it has to give the leadership, we call stewardship, to run. The Ministry of Health is giving that stewardship, they can control all the things. So those are four basic functions of health system: provision, resource generation, financing, and stewardship. Any system should have these four basic functions. When you analyze a health system, you have to analyze based on these terms. How is it providing the services? How is it generating the funds? How is it financing those things? And then how it is running this whole system. So, the structure and functions of a country's Ministry of Health have various resources. There is a management, there is some organization, then we need some economic support, and then the service delivery. So these are the various components in the health system, structure and the functions. We can look at those things. And the national health system, as we decided, there are four basic systems within the overall national system. We have the public system, we have the private system, we have the traditional system of medicine, and then we have the informal sector. All provide in the total providing the health services in the country. Right. So then we learned about those four basic functions of a health system: providing the services, generating the resources, financing, and the stewardship for the leadership. So these are the four basic functions of any system. So if you are asked to discuss about a health system, then you have to discuss using these four basic functions. How is it performing in terms of this? How are they providing the services? How are they generating the resources? How are they giving the allocating the funds? How it is run, the leadership. Right? So these are the essential functions of. So what is the key to effective health system? So these have to work harmoniously. We need to have a motivated staff. We need to have motivated staff, motivated trained staff. All these things have to be in place. No point having the motivated staff, committed staff. If you don't have the equipment, you can't deliver the service. So equipment is very important for effective health system. Then information is very important. The system everywhere you need information. Then finances, and most importantly, I take it out of the resources, especially the drugs, adequate drugs for improving the access, coverage, and the delivery of all these things has to are for motivated staff, equipment, information, finance, and adequate drugs are for mainly for improving the access so that people can easily get these services, and it covers the whole population, the coverage and the delivery of health services. Then we look at the development of the health system. We need to have an organization which will change time to time depending on the needs of the country. Then we need to, in terms of development, you can't have a static system. With time, things change. So therefore, we need to develop the health system. So that is what we call health development of health system. So we need to change the organization from time to time. In 1987, the government devolved under the 13th Amendment. Some powers were given to the provincial powers. So the health sector also has to devolve, and then they established provincial health ministries and devolved some of the powers, especially preventive and the small institutions to be run. They handed over to the provincials. So that's organization was changed based on the changes in the country. Then resources expansion. We need to find more and more funds with time. And also the use also goes up in increasing utilization. We have to think in terms of when you are developing a health system, we need to create new institutions. Increase in expenditure and financing pattern of healthcare. Cost control strategies and increasing systems of efficiency. We need policies are there mainly for one determinant is the goal is allocative efficiency and technical efficiency. Cost control, technological advances, demand and application, new technology comes. So then we have to decide and introduce tech, because if you want to develop the health system, you might have to introduce new technology that is coming in. Then prevention is more emphasized, because that is will save money. Curative care is expensive, so with less funding, you emphasize prevention. And then the other thing is, one of the policy goals is to ensure the quality assurance. We call it quality assurance, ensure that the services provided are of good quality. And then public-private interaction. How do they work together? Pattern of service delivery.
public participation in policy decision, that is the stakeholder involvement. So these are factors that you need to take into consideration when you are developing a health system. Let's look at how these health systems have evolved over time. What are the oldest health system that we hear in the world? Traditional practices and medicine have started long years ago in China and in India. And then things started changing with the Industrial Revolution. When did the Industrial Revolution happen? What do you mean by Industrial Revolution? In the world, industry started. People started gathering to create urbanization, all that happened. What is the first industry in the world historically? Yeah, steel industry in the US. At the same time, they consider in Europe, particularly UK, what is the industry? The first industry they consider in the world, where this industrialization happened. We call it the Industrial Revolution. Birmingham, Czechoslovakia. The mineral, the mines, coal mines. That was in the 1870s, 80s. That was the time the coal industry was. At the same time, in US, they started the steel industry. So that got people congregating into particular areas like industries, urbanization, and then healthcare need, all that. So they call it the Industrial Revolution. And so that created, because people are congregating, living, so need for more healthcare. So that's another landmark in the evolution of the health systems. And then Germany, the politicization of workers, there were wars and so forth, and that also had an effect on that. And then 1938, UK National Health System is another landmark event, 1938. And India in 1946 used a very famous report called the Bohr report, which gave some improvements and developments of the health system in India. They applied, and similarly in Sri Lanka, what was that, like the Bohr report I told you the other day. In Sri Lanka, the report that our current system is really based on that report. Thompson report, yes, he's Australian, Rockefeller Foundation, same thing, and in the early 1950s, he came to Sri Lanka, studied the whole system, and gave a report. And the Sri Lankan health system, the 1954, they developed a policy also, which is called the Health Services Minute. Even today, the system is followed by some amendments now. It's called the Health Services Minute by Act of Parliament that was used to run the health services. So that is how these things evolved. And then 1978 was a landmark year where they had this famous Alma-Ata conference, or the country met in Alma-Ata, the capital of Kazakhstan, of the former Soviet Russia. And they came up with the Health for All by the year 2000 and the Primary Healthcare Declaration to achieve that. And in that, they spelled out the importance of equity, social justice, involving the community in providing healthcare, then community participation, more emphasis on prevention and promotion, intersectoral collaboration, other sectors also be partners in providing health, and the appropriate use of resources, and more importantly, the sustainability. So these are the basic parameters of the primary health. The declaration came up in 1978. Sri Lanka signed to the declaration in 1980, and we followed those changes. Then health economics became more important in the 1980s because the costs were going up, and then the needs were going up, and people were demanding, and therefore they need to look at the efficiency with the limited resources. How can they deliver better services and also get better results? Then they had to do some structural program adjustments, and then time to time brought in health sector reforms. And in those things, the World Bank and the WHO were good partners. International agencies gave direction and support and technical support. Then in the 90s, the principle of one size does not fit all. They realized that you can't apply everything. So depending on the country's situation, you have to develop a system. And they recognize the key elements like the equity, empowerment, and poverty reduction. Those are the key things for in the terms of national development. So health has to contribute to those. And then the standardization and improving the performance, and then later the importance of research came into the picture. We call health systems research, HSR, health systems research. So research was also important area. We had to see what are the good practices. So there is a landmark report. Every year the WHO publishes a World Health Report. 2003 is a landmark report. It talks about the primary healthcare access, equity, community participation, and direct approach. And that was the time we started in 2000 the Millennium Development Goals. There were 8 goals and 18 targets. So now health has become a very important factor in the development of the world. So therefore, why we study health systems? Why are we studying? As a separate module you have in your program also. Why we study health systems? Any idea? Yes. It provides you understanding. You need to know different perspectives of yourself in terms of the services needed. Then it helps you, health system, if you study the health system, it will help you to observe and examine the strategies for achieving equity under different situations. So that is the important thing. And then based on your findings, you can make generalizations and develop your health system based on that. And create systems influence on the health system. If you take the whole overall system, there with the other things also. Then what are the factors that determine a health system? Economic factors, affordability, availability. That is very important. We can't have this very sophisticated services in the rural areas also because we are a developing country. So therefore, can we afford to have in all the hospitals? Therefore, we have to have, see the affordability. Economic factors will determine the health system and the availability. Then political factors. What are the political priorities? What are their appropriateness? Accessibility, equity in terms of. So those factors will determine the health system. Then the cultural factors, like acceptability. In 1954, when we introduced the family planning, people didn't accept it. Culturally, it was not acceptable. When we had to educate and gradually only people started following family planning practices because initially it was so acceptability. Then the utilization. Sometimes certain facilities are underutilized. People go to the traditional practitioner without this thing. So there are cultural factors that determine that. And then about the participation, community participation in healthcare systems. So, what determines to change? What happens? What are the factors that will contribute if we need to? We can't have a same system continuing. We need time to time. We need to change. What are the forces that will ask for a change in the system? Emerging new diseases. We had to change system. When HIV/AIDS came, we had to completely change, and it was a completely new disease. We had to set up separate different campaigns and these things. Then this new, recently the SARS, avian flu and all that came in, and then we had to do more fixing. We had to change the health regulations, change the practices in the airports, seaports. So time to time, with the earlier we didn't have much non-communicable diseases. In recent times, they are now increasing. Now we had to set up. Earlier we didn't have what are called healthy lifestyle centers. Now we have established healthy lifestyle centers. Right. So emerging diseases make us to change the system. We are changing the system. Right. Changing disease profile. New emerging diseases, changing the disease profile. Now, earlier it was mostly the communicable diseases. Now the profile has changed. We have controlled most of the communicable diseases. Now it's a non-communicable disease. So we need to change our surveillance systems and practices depending on the changing disease profile. Technical and diagnostic advances make us to change the systems. New technology is developing, newer diagnostic tools are coming in. So we need to introduce these things. Longevity of life. Now people are living more years. So therefore, now we have to change the system. What we didn't have, now we have to introduce geriatric care. Till we don't have geriatric ward, we have pediatric wards. Now more and more old people are coming, so we might have geriatricians like the pediatricians in time to come. So because of the life expectancy increasing. Expectations of people are increasing. Those days, people accepted anything that is given. Now they are more knowledgeable. They know about this stuff. They get more information, and so their expectation has also gone up. So therefore, we have to change now. We can't go the traditional way and give people. They will ask questions. So expectation of people. We need to change our systems the way we are doing. Subsidies and cross subsidies. Those are introduced now. Earlier, the people had to pay for the stents, for the lenses. Now we have changed the system. Now they are also for the poor people. They are also provided through subsidies, provided free of charge. Increasing non-planned expenditure. Every year the health budget is going up. This year it's about 280 billion. Last year it was about 200 billion. So the year before it was 189 billion. So every year the health budget is going up, increasing because there are some expenditures which are non-planned. Disasters coming in, and so we had to respond to those. We need more funds and so forth. Competing priorities. There are so many important things at the same time. So therefore, we need to change the system to address all these competing priorities. Improving awareness among people. So that's why people know about the system. We need to change the system so that, and we call it responsiveness. Even the non-medical parts of it, we need to change the facilities, improve those person, and then rising cost of healthcare delivery. We need to change the systems. Can we afford costs are going up. We need to change one day because of the rising cost of healthcare. So these are various factors which is very important to keep them in mind, and you can maybe ask the question, what are the factors that affect the health system? Then if you know these basic things, you can answer, giving some examples. What do we expect from a health system? The WHO recently came up with a model and then what we expect from a health system. The basic goal is improving the health of the population. That is why we need to have a health system. We need to improve the health of the people. That is the very basic thing we need to do. So for that, we have been providing services. We have been giving all the services free of charge. But people are unhappy. Even they can't afford, sometimes they go to the private. Everything is provided. Why? Why do people, although they can't afford, they sometimes go to the private hospital? They know very well that sometimes the quality is also good, but they prefer to go to the private. Convenience. It is mainly the people's non-medical aspect. It's not. They know that the quality sometimes may be better in the public sector, but they prefer to go to the. Why they go to the public sector? Facilities, yes. That is called the non-medical aspects. What are non-medical aspects? Not the technical skill, they know that they are the best nurses, doctors are there, they are skilled and they are trained, and but private sector, they know that there are untrained nurses. So they very well know, but they go there. Non-medical aspects, that's why they go there. Not the medical. What are the non-medical aspects? Yes, the services, cleanliness, waiting time, right, other facilities. So, how they talk to them, how you are received. You are received, yes. So, those are for the non-medical aspects of care. In modern way, the WHO has given a term for that. Anybody knows the term we use for these non-medical aspects of care, which people look for, that's why they go to private sector. It is called responsiveness. How responsive is the system to your needs? These are the responsiveness, are the non-medical aspects of care. Responsiveness. That is cleanliness, facilities, when they come, welcome, receive well, just like how they, and then if you want some water, there's water available, a good toilet, clean linen, and those are non-medical aspects. Yeah. That is called how they are talked to, how they are welcome, that sort of thing. Those are responsiveness. So that is now it is become one of the important goals of health systems. Responsiveness. You cannot forget about the non-medical aspects of care. People want. Providing financial protection against the cost of ill health. Some people become poor. Some people who have been living normally, but because of one of their family members get a cancer or a chronic disease, they can't afford it. They have to move it. Sometimes they are wealth and they become poor. It's called catastrophic expenditure. Providing financial. So you have to see that you have to have mechanisms in health systems to safeguard those people. If they get a certain illness, they will not become poor. Those who are not poor now can become poor because of illness. So we have to protect people going into poverty because of the illness.
What is the most common mechanism we have uh, to address this? Providing financial protection against cost of illness. Insurance. So health insurance is you contribute to a small amount, and then if you get an illness, and you are protected. You don't have to sell or mortgage your property. Insurance will pay that. So that's providing financial protection. Then there are various social schemes available. The Agraharas, insurance scheme. So, what are the issues in terms of our national health systems? Generalization of performance and trends. Then there are political dimensions. We learned about the forces deciding the character, the impact on health, and the relevance to human rights also. It is becoming an issue. Health as a basic human right. Then let's look at what are the components of a health system. What are the basic parts of a health system? Like we looked at the cardiovascular system, different part. What are the health system? We said a system is a collection of different parts which works together. Right. One is that we need to have resource production. Secondly, there must be some programs, organization, structure. Right, we have the ministry, the provincial ministry, then we have the campaigns and the hospital systems, maternal and child health, the various programs are organized. Then we need to have some financial mechanisms. From where do we get the money, the economic support for the health system to run? Then the management of it, the stewardship, leadership given to that, how we are running that, and finally the service delivery. Let's look at how we classify health systems. Health systems can be classified in terms of service delivery. Depending on the types of service, the next slide we will look at what are the mechanisms, how to classify based on the service delivery. Whether we are delivering primary care, secondary care, or tertiary care, we can. Then the nature of services like that, services doctrine. The doctrine is the philosophy that what are the two broad systems that we have. The doctrine. One, we practice the allopathic system, and then we also have the traditional or Ayurvedic system. So there are homeopathy and various other systems. So that is the doctrine. We can classify based on what is the type of. You can remember the table I showed you last time to classify the health system, and then we have the traditional medicine. So we can classify. So how do we classify depending on the service delivery? Based on the service delivery, we can divide into both public and the private. Public servicing and the private sector. Public sector, we have the primary care, secondary care, tertiary care, and then we have in the public sector also there are some armed forces, the police, they have their own hospital. Army, they have their own hospital like that. So that is in the public sector. Then in the private sector, we have the private hospital, corporate hospitals, nursing homes, insurance schemes, and then there are NGOs running various voluntary organizations like Red Cross providing various services. So this is classify the health system based on the service delivery. How do you deliver this? Then based on the doctrine, the philosophy, we can divide into allopathic, we can classify all the health system, depending on the
system of medicine practice, Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy, etc. So that is another classification of health systems based on the type of medicine practice, based on the services delivered. So in the allopathic or the modern system of medicine is systematic, strong database. They have the pharmacopoeia, where the formulary, then the diagnostic support, it's quick international procedures are there, epidemiological developments, first isolated approach, dependence on technology, human touch is missing. Iatrogenic, also the problem also is that the drugs itself sometimes causes diseases. We call iatrogenic diseases because of the practice of the system also create diseases. Sometimes there are adverse effects of certain drugs. So we create diseases through drugs. We treat patients for illness and they get another disease. That is called iatrogenic, what we create that. Lot of resources are eaten by irrational drug use issues in the Western system. Then the traditional system or the ethnically alternative or indigenous, there is names are given, root, acceptability, respect for of healers, the traditional practitioners are how they are treated, reach masses, rural base. Now there's renaissance or rebirth. At the time when the Western medicine or the allopathic system came, you see, but now people are going back to Ayurvedic systems, and even hotels have started now these systems being practiced in their hotels and their role in the present system. Then different types of health system in the world in relation to traditional medicine. Time to time, exclusive systems were developed in UK, Germany, but in countries like that, there were inclusive systems with traditional practitioners, especially in India, Pakistan, Burma, Sri Lanka. There are traditional practitioners which are very inclusive, and also there are some countries where they have integrated both Western as well as the traditional systems. China is a classic example. In the same hospital, they provide both types of care. And we still ponder over health system not well understood, large enough in content and context, the system which needs inputs and aims to bring out outputs and outcomes. So that is to introduce you to the subject of system or a health system. Right? You have got an idea. Now let us look at in the next session different health systems in the world. We learned about the health system in Sri Lanka. From what we learned from this thing, where will you put that? If you the health system, if you classify by the type of services delivered, how will you classify what is some system? How will you